John, you're the pop culture guy. What's the thing when you're like in an alternate universe?
I mean,
The
that's
Matrix?
kind of it. Multiverse, interdimensional travel. I don't know. I guess the Bizarro world.
The alternate world. Anyways, U.S. distance fans, pinch yourself. It's real. For the first time in the history of the world, an American born man has won a loaded Diamond League field in a time under 13:10. Nico M.F. Young. Not only did he go to Oslo to compete, not only did he go there to run fast, he went there to spoil a world record attempt and win the race in 12:45. Behind him, George Mills deserves a lot of props. He pushing the pace in that fourth K, 12:46.69, a British record as 9 guys break 12:50, 13 break 13 flat. Graham Blank's 12:48, Cooper Cheer 12:57. What does that mean for them? You like Emmanuel Onyoni? He's back. He holds on and wins at throwing mints 800, 142.77. Sajadi returns. Yes, there's no shadow ban for him. He was pretty impressive in third place. The Dream Mile. Isaac Nita ran away with it. Cam Myers was second as 11 men broke 350. National records fell for Germany, Sweden, Belgium. Faith Cherachich, Ed Giavi, and a women's steeple. Courtney Waymick ran 9:13. Karsten Warholm world record, 300 hurdles. Julian Alfred returns to the 100 with a cool and calm win, 10:89. Isabel Whitaker, much, much more. Plus, 2025 NCAAs are underway. And Grand Slam track LA is canceled. Is Grand Slam track going to survive? Thank you for joining us. If you're joining us live, extra kudos. I guess Nico's run broke the internet. Our normal streaming service, StreamYard, is down across the globe. We had to find a new one in 20 minutes notice. Here we are. Nothing to stop us from talking about this great run. I know John claims he doesn't root for athletes. And sometimes I don't know if I'm a fan of an athlete until we're into the race. And I found myself yelling at that goddamn TV screen going, "Come on, Nico, do it." And he did it. The same kick that we saw at the end of Grand Slam track was there. Just fabulous. I am Robert Johnson. This is a special edition of the Friday 15. Normally a podcast for bonus podcast for Supporters Club members. We go live after almost every Diamond League, joined by Jonathan Galt in Eugene, Oregon, as well as Weldon Johnson.
I mean, mark it down. June 12th, 2025. This is the day we know for sure Nico Young is for real. We saw hints, obviously, the last year or so. He's had some great wins in the United States at the high school level, the college level. But to fly to Oslo, his Diamond League debut in a world record attempt race, which kind of fizzled, but a 12:45 race against some of the fastest guys in history. He took it by the scruff of the neck, the last 200 meters, won this thing. Second fastest time ever by an American, fastest by an American ever outdoors. He's only 22 years old. Nico Young he's going to be one of the faces of American distance running in the 2020s. He should be contending for medals for the next 5 years in this event. I don't think Weldon accused me of overreacting after Philadelphia when he closed in 2:20 to win that 3K. He's like, oh, okay, it's a slow race, whatever. I don't think I'm overreacting now. That was a statement win by Nico.
Now, Weldon is muted.
Oh, John. Grand Slam track Philadelphia and Oslo Diamond League 5,000 meters. Come on. Those aren't nearly the same things. An 8:0 something race and a 12:45 race. This was phenomenal. And on our regular podcast on Tuesday, Robert was speculating whether Nico could break the world record. It was preposterous talk. But I think what we've heard is from Mike Smith and stuff is just Nico is ready to go. Everything you hear surrounding Nico is like he's in fabulous shape. What he was doing indoors when he ran quite well, we're at 12:51, that he'd missed a lot of time. That wasn't anything close to Nico. And then also when he started putting stuff together, this is the Newbury Park High School star. And then after them, his brothers in some ways, the Solomon brothers, they some way almost like eclipsed him. And you're like, oh, is there a difference between these guys in talent? And his coach, Sean Brosnan in high school once, essentially, he finally indicated I think he thought one was better, and I think it's clear that he thinks that it was Nico, that he's a level above, and that's clear after today. He is now like a top 5 guy in the world. I mean, and the question right here on some of these texts are like, hey, if Jakob's not at Worlds, could America go 1-2 in the 5,000 meters? It's absurd.
Right. I mean, this was a loaded field. I will say the 2 or 3 of the best, like if I had to say in terms of like championship contenders, it was missing Grant Fisher, it was missing Jakob Ingebrigtsen, it was missing Berehu Aragawi. But you had Kajelcha in there, you had Gebrewet, you had the young Ethiopian phenom Biniam Mahari, all of 18 years old, and just the times as well. I mean, if you look at, all these guys are running the 1240s. It was a very fast race, and that I think is what's so significant with this recent crop of Americans who are starting to take over world distance running. We had medalists from the U.S. in the 2010s.
Just stop. We're not taking over world distance running. Name the gold medal that we've won.
Cole Hawker. I mean, are you serious, Rob? Are you effing stupid? You seriously asked me to name a gold medal after Cole Hawker won one of the most famous races in American distance running history last year.
I consider that to be a middle distance race.
Okay. How about 2 world records from Grant Fisher this year, indoors? How about 2 medals at the Olympics last year for Grant Fisher? I'm not saying that Americans are going to win every distance race ever from now here on out, but I will say that a world record from Yared Nuguse indoors this year in the mile as well. My point was, in the 2010s, we had people like Rupp and Centrowitz and Evan Jager and Bernard Lagat and Paul Chalimo winning medals, Lionel Manzano. They were doing this, but in the very fast Diamond League races, usually most of those guys were not in the mix. Jager was a couple times, Lagat a couple times, but often it would be, okay, the Americans got up and they snuck a medal in a slower championship race, but those fast Diamond League races, you wouldn't really be talking about the Americans all that much. Now, okay, Nico has won this one, but Cole Huck has set the Olympic record in Paris when he won the gold in the 1500 and had another guy run 3:27. Nuguse, when Jakob Ingebrigtsen scared the world record in the mile at in 2023, Nuguse was right there running 3:43. And then obviously you've had the world records from Fisher indoors and Nuguse indoors, which, by the way, 2 other Americans, Cole Hawker and Hobbs Kessler, broke the previous world records, and the only reason they weren't the world record holders indoors is because they lost to another American. So this is something we haven't really seen for quite some, certainly since I've been covering the sport, is Americans getting in these fast, rabbited races and still expecting to win or run fast. That's what's, different now.
In case you didn't watch it, a lot of our Supporters Club members are at work right now. It didn't end up really being a world record attempt because people were talking about this in the message board. They said that while they said the green light would go for the world record, it was going to hit 3,742. 742 is 1250 pace. And at first I felt like, okay, that's a little bit of false advertising. I was a little bit disappointed in that because you shouldn't hype something as a world record attempt and then not go for the world record. They're not going to close they'd have to close in 353? No, 453. I mean, come on. And, but the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, I really wanted them to peg it at 1240 pace. I'm like, I think it's going to make, and they talked to meeting organizers. They must have talked to Kajelcha. And I'm like, I would much rather see 1250 pace. I was like, I think I'd much rather see 1250 pace than 1235 because it's going to create a much better race. And you ended up having a perfect race. They stayed exactly on the pace lights for 3,000, 742.09. Kajelcha got a little bit impatient and then I think he passed the rabbit maybe before 3K and he does what he always does. And you see why he's flawed as a track runner because he's just so good. He gets impatient early in the race. And then when it comes time to win the race, he's done a lot of work and is nowhere to be seen. But it kind of slowed down. And you saw this in the Dream Mile. I mean, there's 9 guys under 350, 13, I forgot how many it was already. But 100 meters to go, Tim Hutchings, it's like a cross-country race at the finish. Like they were just pouring in. And this became a tactical race where like 9 guys break 12:50 because they bunched up. And then George Mills, I think he realized the British record was on the line. What was the British record coming in, John?
12:53 by Mo Farah.
He killed that by 7 seconds. But he kind of kept the pace a little bit honest. But you kind of like, okay, you didn't really see Kajelcha. You saw him falling back. And then Nico just bided his time. And then, I don't know, he was full of run early. He got right up there at the start. I'm like, wow, he's ready to go. He's in like 4th place. And then kind of didn't waste energy. But then you could see every signs of life. Like you want to see the signs of life as a coach. So like 800 to go, he kind of moves out. And then just time to kick, and he was there. And I was also impressed by Mahari. I mean, the teenage sensation from Ethiopia. We'd heard about his accolades, but I'd never really seen like something that made me think, okay, who's going to be the next, Gebre Selassie, Coleman, Bekele, Cheptegei type guy. Who's going to be the next ruler of this event? And based on what he did as a junior, you're thinking it might be him. I know he lost this race, but to me, this was a big step forward for him because I thought he had tactical awareness. Good run for him.
Definitely. And I just messaged Mike Smith afterwards because he had sort of been saying, hey, things are going well. He talked quite optimistically when you messaged him ahead of the race. The thing he was most impressed by, Robert, wasn't the time, it's that he won the race. And that was one of the reasons he told you that they went out to Oslo is if he's going to be contending at the World Championships this year or, the next Olympics in LA, which is basically a home Olympics from him. He's a Southern California kid. He needs to get experience racing these kind of athletes. And I think this was great experience for him. Obviously, it was a little faster than what you'll have at the World Championships, but in terms of navigating the pack, knowing when to make your move, countering moves, to go out there and, doing it all in an unfamiliar country, he passed the test with flying colors. I mean, this is exactly why they went over there to get in this kind of race, and it couldn't have gone any better.
So as I mentioned earlier, Mahari is the runner-up. He's officially 18 years, 174 days old. He came in, he'd run 12:54 in LA last year. That was 6th place there. He was 6th in the Olympics in the 5,000, 13:15. 4th in the Ethiopian Olympic trials in the 10,000. And then, so he was only 9th in world indoors in the 3,000. Did run 7:29, 3:35 indoors. Had run 13:03 in Zagreb. Only 13:03 actually in Zagreb on May 24th. This was a big step forward for him. And then behind them, you've got Kruma Gurma, who I assume is Ledmecha Gurma's brother, 12:46. George Mills, 12:46. Gebre Hiwet can't do Grand Slam track. Maybe he knew they weren't going to pay him. He shows up here, runs 12:46. Graham Blanks is 7th. So 12:59, 89 to 12:48.20. And I guess I can reveal it. When I talked to Alex Gibby, I said, well, I think he can run a big one. And I said, well, he can break 12:50. He's like, that wouldn't surprise me. Nothing would surprise me. I'm like, well, can he break 12:40? He said, well, that seems kind of, hardly anyone's ever broken 12:40. But near the end of the conversation, I didn't want to put this in the article. He's like, if I had to bet, if you wanted me to give me a 3-second window, I'd say 12:40. He said it's probably around 12:49 to 12:52, and he runs 12:48. So these guys know that they know their athletes. Alex, if you want me to get out there, actually, Graham, he thought you were going to run 12:38. He's irate and pissed, but I'm kidding.
Third all time, Robert. By the way, Graham Blanks, only Young today, and Grant Fisher indoors have gone faster among Americans.
What I like about both these guys is you're seeing something that you haven't seen from them before. With Graham, he moved up to the 10,000, 26:57. Gibby told me on the phone earlier this week, I don't think that was his indicative of his fitness. He spent too much time at the lead. Like Gibby's like, whoever's wastes energy, he's like, do not waste energy. He's like me, runs the Weldon Johnson way. Just sit in that pack, do not waste energy, conserve, and then go. And then Nico, let's be honest, this was a guy that was a 10,000 meter runner who had no kick. He's developed the kick. For all the years that I thought that the only way that Rupp developed that kick was with some sort of artificial. Every time he runs well, honestly, I think the odds that Galen Rupp wasn't a doper go up. And it's just part of the sport. So, someone in the chat wants us to delete our original live stream. I can't do that. Sorry.
It's bad news, unfortunately. I mean, the one loser here, Robert, I would say is Cooper, unfortunately for him, because he just got smoked by 2 Americans, and it shows you the reality. 12:57. I mean, that's not like a bad time, but the reality is in the U.S. right now we have 3 12:40 guys. So to make the team, you're either going to have to be a 12:40 something guy, or you're going to have to beat a 12:40 something guy. It's just brutal in this event right now.
I mean, he was only 13th. To be honest, I saw him early in the race. In the middle of the race, I looked for him 2 to 3 times. I did not see him before 3K. I'm like, wow, Cooper Tier dropped out. I can't believe it. I went before him. Where's Cooper Tier? I guess he was just so far back in the screen that it didn't work. So yeah, bad race for him. Should Cooper Tier move back to the 5,000? I don't think so. I think his best bet is in the 1,500. And
What?
in 5,000, excuse me. And I think that USA's, you've seen it. None of these guys like to push the pace. Nico didn't push the pace today. Graham didn't push the pace. I know for a fact Alex Gibby does not like his guys pushing the pace. So he hopes it's a tactical race, and he hopes he can now kick these guys in a tactical race. So you put the onus on a Nico or maybe a Grant Fisher to push it at some point and just try to follow them and get lucky.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Robert. Is anyone a lock for the US 5K team? All these guys show up. You've got Abdihamid Noor is making his first race of the season this weekend at the Portland Track Festival. Sam Gilman's been running really well this year. Cooper Tier. Parker Wolf, who knows what his health's going to be like at USA's. Is there anyone who's a lock to make this team?
That's crazy, John.
It's hard for me. It's Fisher not making it because he's got the combination of the endurance and the wheels. And no, there's not, because I mean, Graham Blanks, do you really trust him if it's tactical?
Well, I was going to, Weldon, go ahead and answer, because I was going to say I do still think Grant Fisher's a lock.
Well, that was the thing. I was going to say Fisher and Young, and that's just, but then it made me to sort of start to wonder.
I think
distance running. This is the point John was making earlier. U.S. distance running on the men's side is amazing right now. That 1,500 team is going to be so hard to make. Now we got Donovan Brazier in the 800. The 800 team is really hard to make. The 5K team is going to be hard to make. Now, all the guys we said he should go to the steeple, they definitely should. Just get in that steeplechase. And John, somebody said, I think John said some comment like, he's not impressed with the time. He's impressed with the win. Of course, guys. We saw this. 12:50 is the old 13:05 or something like that. 12:50 is nothing these days. So these guys were all there together. I mean, a 350 mile now is like the old 357. But winning this race, yes, it's huge. I mean, we're still over 6 weeks away from USA's, probably 7 weeks from this weekend. That's nuts. Worlds are 3 months from now. So let's not get carried away. I mean, Nico Young could be a non-factor by the World Championships, but this thing was beautiful. And you see now in the comments, John said, "Oh, this is a bad day." This was not a bad day for Cooper Tier. He broke 13. He hadn't broken 13 this year, had he?
He did indoors.
Okay, never mind. Well, outdoors. BU track, and the BU track times you can add about. This might have been a world record at BU. This was a bad day. Of course, you got to say it. This was a bad day for Grant Fisher.
Bad news for Grant Fisher.
Podcast with Grant Fisher's at home right now. Oh my gosh! Oh, actually, the Grand Slam track meeting is starting in 15 minutes. This is just going to be a double whammy to Grant Fisher right now.
I don't think it's starting in like 2 hours and 15 minutes. I mean, I think Grant's a lock, and I think Nico is pretty close to a lock, because here's the other thing. At USA's, what's going to happen? Grant Fisher's going to take off with a mile to go, and not all these guys are going to be able to hang with it. That's just like we saw it last year, and Abdi Noor was the only guy who could hang. Who knows how healthy Noor is going to be? We'll get a look this weekend. It's not going to be some wild kickers race over the last 200 at USA's. Grant Fisher will not allow that to happen because he's stronger than all these guys. I mean, maybe not Nico anymore. I don't know. That's going to be fun, but yeah, that's why I have Fisher as a lock on the team. And Weldon, I think I need to start a new Let's Run drinking game. We've got bad news for Grant Fisher making its return after those 2 double Olympic medals. That brought in 10 months of no bad news, and now it's bad news again. The other drinking game is every time you mention how much longer until the World Championships, because I think we're on a 4 or 5 podcast streak of you saying there's 3 months until the World Championships. There's 2 months until the USA.
How about bad news when the employee always constantly reprimanding his boss?
I'm not reprimanding. I enjoy it. It's just fun.
And
It's
we wanna
fun
give
part of being on the show.
John
I mean,
he's got a professional backdrop for once. Congratulations, John. We'll send you your paycheck this week. Don't
I
criticize
talked
me.
about Grand Slam track being a
I'm only
preseason.
kidding, people. Look, the win was the whole thing here. Just the American record and a loss is not the same thing. To take down Kajelcha, to take down Hagos, to take down Mahari. Kenya's in shambles. Like their country and their teams are a joke. Oh, I shouldn't say that because the problem already.
The country's a joke? What are you talking about, Robert?
The country, but just their development is not working. Like they used to just have star after star after star, and now that they can't develop anybody.
Well, they can develop marathoners.
Yeah, the emphasis is shifted in Kenya. The money is in the marathon. That's where the guys are going. And then throw that on top of it, all the doping suspensions. So you wonder how much of what we were seeing in the past is real. And also, these guys now have no incentive to go to the track. They go where the money is.
That's Western privilege. I agree with that 100%. You know, if we're seeing, guys run like 204 in the marathon age like 18. They don't even bother to go run 1250. So,
right. They are down in the 5K and 10K right now. And, oh, by the way, the guy who was 5th at the Olympics in the 10,000, Kenya's top finisher, Bernard Kibet, was just suspended for whereabouts violations. So that's a very big bust this week. But they're great in the 800 still, and they're still really good in the marathon. So they obviously, it's not like the whole country's declined in terms of distance running, but 2 events, steeple, they've been struggling a bit in that one lately as well. So some of the events, steeple and 1500, 10 years ago, Kenya used to own those events. They don't anymore, but they're still good in the 800 and the marathon.
But they have the guys. I mean, look, they have the talent. Ishmael Kipkuri. I mean, the NCAA 10,000 was over with 200 meters to go last night. I mean, he's obviously talented, but when he comes over here and gets the training, that's what I'm saying. I didn't mean to be that harsh in Kenya. I love you. But, all right, who's the favorite, Nico or Grant?
Oh,
are you guys crazy? It's Grant Fisher. Like, why would you pick Nico Young over Grant Fisher? Like, it's not even debatable, guys. Come on.
I think it could be debatable. One, Nico ran basically Grant's PR today. He was 1 second off. Grant had to do a lot of the work in that one. Nico didn't have to do any work today. But the more serious concern here, what happened 2 weeks ago, Weldon? These guys were supposed to race in Philadelphia. Grant Fisher did not run that race due to injury, and Nico Young won that race in convincing fashion. If this injury is serious, that's where you start shifting to Nico Young. If I knew Grant Fisher is totally healthy right now and training fine, I'd still pick Grant. But if he's banged up at all, I think you got to really seriously consider Nico.
Okay, well, there's separate issues here because you said Grant was a lock. Grant is only a lock if he's healthy. There's people here in the comments. LG is saying the 3 of you guys don't seem to think that the reason Grant pulled out a Philly Grand Slam is a big deal. Why not? Grant missed the U.S. team 2 years ago, the stress reaction. I agree all of that. When I'm saying Grant's a lock, Grant's the favorite, it's only if he's healthy. So that's not the world of distance running. So I guess saying all of that, if I had to factor in a possible injury, I mean, I guess a guy missed a race a week ago and I just saw that, I guess I take it back. Nico Young's your current favorite right now. But if in a week you told me, if I could call up Mike Scannell right now and he's like, Grant's fine, Grant's my favorite. So it would take one phone call for me to like get away from that. But if I guess if you said, you got to bet your life on it one way or the other. Who wins the USA's right now? It would be tough. I would really have to debate. Do I think this injury is serious? I honestly don't think the injury is serious.
Right. My answer would be Grant Fisher. I'd pick him as the favorite. I think we're sort of forgetting just how good he's been over the last 12 months. I know Nico's amazing now, but this guy won 2 Olympic medals last year, swept the 5K and 10K at USA's. Like, I think he's the favorite. But I think it's a conversation now.
But Grant's never done this. I mean, I know Central never won a Diamond League either, but John's got the history behind it. Only 3 Americans have ever won a Diamond League. Ben True won a watered-down one in New York one year in like 1330 when Nick Willis was second. It was like
Dartmouth alum Ben True is actually his full name.
And then Paul Chalima won at least one. John, you said it was a pretty good field, but it was a 13-14 race.
Yeah, London in 2018, where he beat Edris, who was the defending world champion. He beat Kajalcha, he beat Gebrawet, he beat Mohamed. You know, he beat some legit guys in that race.
It's kind of interesting. Like this race was so amazing, but I do see like if you could just, we'll talk more about Grand Slam track later. If you combine Grand Slam track with Diamond League, like every race doesn't need to be paced. And I'm excited because these guys are going to double back in Paris in about 9 days. So we're going to get to see Young. We're going to get to see Blanks again. But they're also having Diamond League in Stockholm with Hawker and some other guys. But it's like it's the same thing over and over, and it's always rabid. I noticed the crowd wasn't really into it early in the race because you're just kind of standing there and watching them watch the pace of the lights. So it doesn't take long for people to find negatives. To be honest, I got a text from a top coach, 4:12 p.m. So what is that? Less than 1 hour before the race was started at 3:14, probably over around 3:27. So 45 minutes after the race over, top coach texts me, Nico blasting way too early. So there you have it, folks. Nico Young to burn out later in the season. All right. I'll share his post-race quotes to the organizers, and then we can move on. We can't spend the whole show on Nico. It was a crazy race. It surprised me a little bit, but I'm really proud that I managed to stay on this pace all the time. Coming into the race, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. There's so many scenarios of what could happen. As it progressed, I got to 3K, and I was like, okay, I did not feel too terrible. So I try to do something. And we'll wait and see. And we'll wait and see. That's good coaching. The best is yet to come. Coming here, I knew that there was a possibility to run 12:45, but I don't know how I'd have run. Today was really good for my fitness, for where my fitness is right now. This boosts my confidence a lot at these international meets. And that was the goal today. And to be honest, when I talked with Mike Smith and talked to Coach Gibby, they're not all in right now. They're not. Their focus is USA's and Worlds. So that's the exciting thing moving ahead.
I mean, Mike Smith, just whatever he touches right now, it's just golden, right?
What
Donovan
a week.
Brazier.
Donovan Brazier and Nico Young. And I guess, all right, now NAU's at NCAAs, so we'll see how can Maggie Congdon win the 1500.
And then after this week, he's not going to have to travel every weekend as an NCAA coach and just be a pro coach and pick and choose when he wants to go to Europe for a week or two.
But you see why guys go to the marathon, because, you're Jacob Kropp, you run 12:51, you're 11th place. Cooper Cheer, 12:57, 13th place. Nicholas Camelli, 13:06, 14th place. It's like, but they can run a marathon and probably pick up $50,000, $75,000. All right. Other events, to me, the most significant was the men's 800. You had Emmanuel Wanyoni winning in a seasonal best time, just missed the world leader in 1:42.77. Sajadi, the Olympic medalist, returned for his first race of the year, 1:43.06. That, to me, the most significant thing about this race was Sajadi just being in it. To be honest, there was the rumors of a raid of the Olympic Village after the Olympics. He hadn't raced this year. I was wondering if it's something that would come of that raid. And clearly not. But this race was fascinating because with 100 meters to go, they're right on his shoulder, and you think, okay, it's over. He's going to lose this race. And then I thought, no. They often get on Wanyoni. It looks like he's going to be run down. He's towering, and he just holds them off. Just stays the same distance ahead of them in the last 100. Most guys, you think, it's over 100 meters to go. Not with him.
He's almost always got something the last 100, Robert. And it's one of the things that makes him great. I think Hutchings was talking about, it's his 1,500 meter strength that we saw coming into play. But yeah, it's honestly halfway through this, they hit 400. I think Wanyoni was about 50 flat. And on the back straight, he starts getting this big gap. And I'm like, he's going to run something really fast. Like, we've seen some of these guys run close to even splits or even negative splits and run like 141. I was getting really, really excited. And then they did start to reel him in. But no, he showed why he's a champion. And good run for him to get into 142s. I think more to come. But I was also impressed. Great run by Spain's Mohamed Atoy to get up for second. He ran 142 low last year as well. But for him to be challenging in the home straight against two of the Olympic medalists from last year, that was a really good run for him as well.
With 200 to go, John, when you only sort of also pulling away from the lights, and they're like, oh, the white lights, the world leader. I'm like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden, like the light caught him and they caught him. I can't believe he held on to win this race. But it shows to me that he's, he started the season. Well, he won the Grand Slam track in 100 grand, so he's not too happy, but his 800s weren't as good, right? And now I think we're seeing everything's there. He's the favorite in this event, but this event's really good right now.
Yeah,
Also,
I basically have him and Europa as co-favorites. Those guys have kind of gone back and forth, and they're really good. But yeah,
You guys did it. You made me do it. Please be quiet for a second. You guys mentioned the word Grand Slam track. Weldon would say it's too soon.
oh my God.
Dancing on their grave. But Weldon said he got $100,000 at Grand Slam track. Did he? The big news that came out, we heard a rumor last night. I woke up on the message board to see if it had been confirmed. It hadn't been confirmed. Then I got a text from Matt Lawton of the Times of London saying, hey, man, there's a meeting being called. And he texted me back like 20 minutes later and says, Grand Slam track LA is canceled. And this is a devastating blow to me. To me, I think it's over for the week. I do. I don't think they're coming back from this. But I immediately reached out to some agents. And I said, hey, do you got any, two different agents? I said, hey, do you got people running Grand Slam track? One of them was like, top agent. Yes, lots of them. Have they been paid? No. They said some agents did get their Kingston money yesterday, just 40% of it with no explanation provided. So that's interesting. And then I talked to another agent, someone who's won Grand Slam track, has won 2 Grand Slam tracks. Maybe it's too obvious what it is. And they have not been paid.
Yeah, the not getting paid thing, I think paying out 40% is, I would say that's a little weird, but it's not uncommon for meets to take a while. Like the Kingston meet, and it was 2 months ago, but Miami was a month ago, and then Philly just happened. These things can take a little while. I think everyone will get paid. I think all the athletes will get paid because of this they keep touting this $30 million number in terms of funding. Like, unless they're just making that up, they should have at least enough money to pay off these athletes. Whether they have enough to have a second series or what that will look like, I think that is very much up in the air. They said they want to be back in 2026. I think if they are back, I would expect the series to look pretty different. But I do expect them to make good on all their obligations eventually.
Wait, John, have they said anything today?
Citius Mag had a story where they said they plan to be back in 2026. They also said that they were having conversations about bringing on new sponsors. If I was a potential sponsor getting into this, are you going to invest in a series that promised 3 meets and only delivered the first 3? I'd have reservations about that, as much as I love track and field.
Well, I mean, for me, the issue would be, did they cancel today? They thought this meet wouldn't be well attended, save the money, and you can have a full go at it for year 2. Interesting. I guess I got to read this Citius thing. Citius does all these breaking things on Instagram. I didn't see one today. I mean, if you either cover the sport how you cover it or you don't. But if it's like you just cover positive news, but
I agree. Like Citius, come on, we know they're connected because Kyle Merber used to work for them. Their coverage today was disgraceful. Like there's nothing all day. Then they put out a piece supporting them. Like there's no knowledge. Like, hey, Grand Slam track, there's a meeting, nothing. We'll just put out the ball piece. What a joke.
Look, we don't know if this is the end. It's not a good sign under any stretch of the imagination. The best case scenario is like, look, let's save our ammunition for next year. The investors aren't saying they're not going to give us the full money for next year. We don't want to put on a subpar product. But okay, the concerning things. Obviously, the effing meet got canceled. Other concerning things all along behind the scenes. John, you go to Kingston. What's the indication? Oh, just wait for LA. We're going to go out with a bang in LA. So that leads me to speculate that they're bringing in Sha'Carri or Noah or somebody. Also, everyone knew that Pre is a week after the LA meet. So it's just access to athletes who are over here. Europeans have to be in. It just makes sense. Like you're going to get more, maybe some European athletes, that sort of stuff. None of that is happening now. Just the best case scenario is that these guys are, the investors are like, look, that they really just treat this as almost like some like beta product. Like this version isn't good and just kill it now. And we're going to come out with round 2. But, I wouldn't say there's a lot of confidence that's going to happen.
Look,
but these the people, obviously, the athletes need to be paid. That's a non-starter for what they've done in the past. I assume some of the appearance fees and stuff, John. I assume the guys on the big appearance fees already got those before the series even started. So
you guys are naive, particularly John. John's always believing what people tell him at face value. And I've always said this. Money is not important when you don't have it. Money's not important when you die. You don't take it with you. And when you're single and don't have kids, it's not important. But when you start having kids and worried about retirement, it's important. And if they're going out of business, if it is a startup and they view this as a failed investment, generally, most people don't do the right thing. They cover their ass. And they're like, well, they quickly realize, okay, we've lost 15 million. We keep running this, we're going to lose another 15. Screw it. Cut the cord now. We're not paying anyone. And then they can let the lawsuits and the lawyers figure it out and pay them dime on the dollar. But just because they promise someone doesn't mean that, they can say, well, we thought we were going to project these ticket sales and we didn't get them or whatever. They don't, just because like somebody's backing it, unless the money's actually legally into the company, they don't have to do anything. There can be lawsuits. There can be all this. I'd be stunned. Call me if I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Honestly, I do hope I'm wrong. I'd be stunned if people receive 100 pennies on the dollar for what they're owed from Grand.
So you think it's over 100%?
Yes.
I don't think it's
if it's over 100%.
Back from this.
If it's over 100%, I'm confident people won't get the money. If there's going to be a year 2, they're going to get paid.
Okay, right.
You can't have a year 2 without people getting paid. But I think here's their why are they cutting the cord right now? I think one, getting a meet held at UCLA is kind of a problem. There's just some red tape and stuff like that. But mainly, obviously, the money's a huge concern. They're going to save a lot of money by not having this meet, by not paying out prize money. And I think you look at, they were hoping, like Michael Johnson, I asked him in Kingston, how is this thing sustainable? How does it make money? And he pointed to, he didn't really give an answer, but he was kind of like, look, it's basically the same way any other professional league makes money, which is TV contracts and in-seat attendance and sponsors. So let's look through those. Sponsors, they've got a couple of them. Drip Water, Jamaica Tourism. I don't know how much that's bringing in, but the in-stadium attendance was poor in Jamaica. Not bad in Miami, but the stadium's tiny, so they can't be making that much on it. And then the concerning thing here is the Philly attendance was clearly the best of the series so far. It was quite good, and if they're canceling it on the back of that, I don't think you're going to draw much more than what they got in Philadelphia for any track meet in the United States. It's like, are we going to get 20,000 a day for a track meet? It's very optimistic. So then you look at the broadcast contracts, and from what I understand, they're getting very little, if anything. I don't think they're getting very much, if at all, from NBC or Peacock, and maybe CW is paying them something. I don't think they're getting much international rights because of the time zone and because there's not a huge demand for this. So where is that money coming from? I'm not sure there is much broadcast revenue, and that's probably what the investors are looking at.
But that was my problem all along, is I thought that I don't think that I love Grand Slam track. The 1500 and 800 was great. I love the Dime League. The product to me is not the problem. It's just not popular. There's no business model. And that's what I posted on the message board. I said, there was nothing really wrong with the product. The same is true of the Dime League. The problem was there was no business models. And I didn't like the LIV golf vibes. There's no field. You just get the stars. But I always thought all along, my main thing was, how is this thing going to make money? The London Diamond League sells 50,000 tickets a year and still somehow loses money. I actually think they're probably paying the TV partners or giving it away for free. But There was a great post on the thread on the message board by someone posting under the name of Philly GST. And this is 100% what I believe. I hope this isn't the end, but it was obvious from the beginning that the prize money was way too high to succeed as a business. As a comparison, the average Major League Baseball game payroll is about right now $1 million per game, with an average of 28,000 fans in attendance in the seats, plus a massive TV rights deal. With Philly as a model, Grand Slam Track was actually paying out $1.5 million per day, with maybe $200,000 in ticket sales, minimal sponsorship deals, and a TV deal where they probably gave the content away for free. The only way I can see you actually making like big money would be with this, if the rights holder pays you, and I don't see how that would happen. Now you can't predict TV rights deals. I mean, like Major League Baseball to me is more popular than NBA, but it's more of a local sport, so it's hard to extract the rights out of that. So ESPN it doesn't make any sense. They're like cutting a $500 million deal with Major League Baseball, but signing like a multi-billion-dollar deal with NBA, despite the NBA ratings going down. It's very strange. So I can't predict it. Maybe they thought they'd just get lucky in the booms of these sports, but to me, it's a business model deal, and that was my big complaint. Yes, John, you're right. The crowd today in Oslo was amazing, right? That stadium, I looked it up, looked amazing. Beautiful day, packed. It seats about 15,000. There's like 14,500 people. There were that many people at Grand Slam Track to Philly the first day. I'd say a little bit more. And it's the same crowd, but it doesn't look nearly as nice because the stadium is big. But it's still, again, the London Diamond League's bringing in 50,000. They're having trouble turning a profit with much less prize money.
Right. And the thing about Grand Slam Track is, I know it seems like we're negative here, but, because it's sad that the season is not going to be completed. But I still have so much respect for, one, they took a shot at this thing, and you can quibble about the mistakes they made, but in terms of, Robert, why was the prize money so high to begin with? It was because they knew if they're going to get some interest, they want to have all the main stars competing. And you have to offer big-time prize money to get some commitments. Like Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, a woman who has historically rarely competed at all outside of the ones she's required to do. To get her to sign up for this series, you're going to have to throw a ton of money at her. Same for these other athletes to commit to 4 meets well ahead of time and to doubling. Like, that requires a lot of money. And maybe you tone down the prize money, like paying out $50,000 for second or paying $10,000, like $10,000 to the last placer. Some of these challenges would be happy to run for free. Like, give them a hotel room, and I bet some of them would show up just for the chance to run for $100,000. So maybe you can quibble with that approach, but it's kind of like they took a big swing, and I don't fault Michael Johnson for like trying to do something about this. A lot of people talk and say, "Oh, can we fix track and field? How we want to make it better?" They gave it a shot, and we'll see if there's a year 2 or whatever. But I don't want this just to be, "Oh, how embarrassing! Let's laugh at them." Like, I just don't think that's productive. And I don't think, not saying that you guys are, but I think in general, just like, I do still appreciate what they tried to do here. And I liked watching the meets. I'll say that. I enjoyed the meets.
No, where did anyone say how embarrassing, or no one did that? I'm holding out hope for year 2 that they're just taking the ultimate reality of like, don't waste money. This is a startup. Let's come back for year 2. But a couple of things. One, the Major League Baseball thing is interesting. Is it really $1 million a game, Robert, with all those people? Is it per team, or does that count both teams? And I'd love to know, also, tickets are a lot cheaper in Europe for sports, but how does a 50,000 seat track meet not make money?
I think Major League Baseball would actually be about $2 million a game and $1 million per team, right? Isn't an average payroll about $160 million?
Okay, so yeah, that sounds about $2 million a game. So yeah, that would show that it's hard to fund that, and then they're going to want a nice return. They don't have as many meets. Major League Baseball, you can meek out a little per game times 162. This, whatever you make, it's times 4, so it needs to be more. But I don't know. We're starting with such a low bar here, John. You guys think Oslo had the same crowd as Philly? Come on, guys. The Oslo thing was full all the way around, both sides.
Yeah, but it only seats 14,500.
I think they're very close in number, Weldon, I would guess. Okay,
well then bad selection of venues. But also, like, from track, right? We're saying this was a positive. They had some momentum going in Philly. So I'm like, let's keep this going. All I said is just all you have to do is get to next year. The schedule is so much more favorable from you. But they made some mistakes. Like John, you said they wanted Sidney McLaughlin. Sidney McLaughlin didn't show up for the prize money. She showed up for the guaranteed appearance money that they gave her. And they're then paying and they didn't pay enough money to get Noah Lyles and Sha'Carri. The way you can't treat I'm sorry, the way it works in track is you can't treat everyone equally. That's how it's not done in Europe. And if you're paying the joke is like the Diamond League, well, the javelin thrower gets the same prize money as the 100. Well, there's appearance fees behind the thing to try to equate from that, but they didn't get it done in terms of getting the superstars in attendance. But what they did do, I think what this sees is they had a branding behind it. They had 4 teams. They were in the markets trying to do that. And the other thing they didn't do is get the seats. Okay, the Club World Cup with FIFA is starting next week. Tickets originally were $500 for these games, like minimum seat. Then it's dynamic pricing, then $300. No one's coming. They're now giving away the seats for $4 a pop to local colleges just because they're we have to have people there. Now, granted, they have Messi playing in this game, but that's one thing. With that first meet, I was just so shocked that they didn't do anything to get more people there. But maybe from there, and maybe the investors are we don't care if people are there. We need money, people paying customers, and they weren't seeing that. Because I'm couldn't you still give away seats for LA to make it look good? But maybe the investors are no, we want actually people to buy the seats and get some money back. And if that's what they're expecting this year, that wasn't happening, obviously.
Well, and my concern is they're trying to bring in new partners and investors. What do they have to sell? I like the product of the meets. It looked good, but what metrics are they using, I guess, to say hey, this is a worthwhile property that you should invest in?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing, except they had some riveting 815-meter races. But
no, they would say, look, we got 15,000 people. You guys are now saying they got 15,000 people for Philly. That's the most for a track meet in America outside of the Olympic trials in 35 years, outside of a pin relays or something like that, which we know those don't count. So
pro track meets, yes.
Yes.
Okay, but no, that's what I'm asking. That is something you can go to.
But
You can
next
say,
year
hey,
we're gonna get. Next year, people know it's there. These are big deals. We're gonna have one in Philly. We got to find the cities that work. LA apparently doesn't work. You're done. You get your try. You're done. Kingston, you're out. Let's do one in Austin or something. Austin, Philly, 2 overseas. That's what you do. We're gonna get 20 to 30,000 per thing and go from there. That's London. You pull in London next year. That 50,000 London. That's Grand Slam track. You partner with existing meets somehow. Split the money. I think that after the first Grand Slam track meet, what did I tell everyone else? I was like, "Don't you dance on their graves, right?" And people were doing that. And then the only problem I would say is that maybe it's a marketing thing. Grand Slam track should have had a little humility coming in this, but humility probably doesn't market well. But we said all along, what do they know that we don't know? And they didn't. They adapted for the second meet. Listened to some stuff we'd said that should probably been done all along, but maybe it was too late. Hopefully not.
I don't know how you would do it because you have to have such massive amount of marketing expenditure. It doesn't really work anymore. There's no newspapers. The world is so fragmented. But yeah, it kind of went the way we thought it would go. Now, I feel like you talk about not paying the 10th player to knock up Japan $12,000 per meet. I agree. But it's kind of funny because when I was talking to Kyle Merber at Grand Slam Philly, that's the saddest thing to me. Is this is a guy with 2 young kids. He quit a job at MX because he believed in track. He wanted to help track. And a smart guy, worked hard. He was so excited after Philly. Walking out the doors, I think we got something here. He was just like a kid at Christmas. And they may not even have another meet. But at least he won't have any regrets. He went for it. So, Kyle, I respect you for going for it. I didn't think it was – I thought it was not a wise decision. But, hey, man, you got no regrets. Kudos to you, man. But it's just – he was telling me, the Diamond League – I go, Kyle, it's great. You got 15,000 people, but how is that different than a Diamond League? How are you going to make money when they don't really? He said, well, they're hampered because they got to pay the discus throwers. They're not bringing in any revenue. But that's kind of the aspect of all track meets. I was watching that 300 hurdles race today. In case you missed it, they had the 3 fastest hurdles ever. Running 300 hurdles. It was great. Warholm came from behind and set a world record on the home track. I was stunned there was actually anyone besides those 3 hurdlers. I'm like, why is there anyone else in this race? We just need the big 3. We don't need anyone else. Just put them on the race as an exhibition. Ignore 1, 2, 4, 5, whatever. So it's just the way the sport is. The stars It's a star-driven sport. All right, enough of Grand Slam track. Maybe I hope again. Be great if we don't need more meets. We need more meets that matter. I do think they did a good job. I still think their presentation is better than Diamond League. There's too much going on in Diamond League. The Diamond League needs a 15-minute preview show. If they're going to do field events, they should have a field event stream or do field events after the main broadcast in a 15-minute post race show, and hype up more events, than others. But let's talk about these other events at Oslo. The mile, 3:48, Isaac Nader. I mean, these weren't the big players, right, John? I mean, these are the guys that are going to finish, what, 5th, 6th, 7th in the Olympics? Is that what this was? I mean, he won comfortably 3:48.25. I thought it was a good sign for the Aussie team, Cam Myers, to move up to second, 3:48.97. But there's basically no separation between 3rd and 11th. And there was literally 11 guys between 3:49 and 3:50. So
right. I think, I mean, maybe I'm just American biased here. I don't think I am. I think the very best guys in the world are the Americans plus Kerr, who have been running Grand Slam track, Jakob, who's been injured. Maybe it would have been interesting to see how Hobbs Kessler would have done it against this field, actually, because this is one you would think, like, can he show up and beat these guys? He was 5th in the Olympics. But yeah, Nader, I was surprised how much he won by the end, but Cam Myers, he was in one of the worst boxes I've ever seen with 150 meters to go. Like, he was riding the rail, and I think he was trying not to panic and doing all right. And then the problem was, like, right as he's about to move, because Nader was moving at the same time, right as he's about to move, another guy jumps out, and there's just 3 guys right in front of him. So his options are either hang on the rail and hope it opens up, or go out to like lane 3 or something and move sideways to get around them. Like, he closed really well, and I think this is just a lesson for him tactically. Same thing with Nilsson of the Netherlands. He was just way too far back, and he closed well. He got up for 3rd. Like, I think Cam Myers and Nilsson, they might be the 2 fittest guys in this race right now, but they were just too far back, or just, in bad position on that last lap. But yeah, good run for Nader. It was a fun race. I mean, it's exciting to see. Like, this is a kind of a 3:48 again is kind of tactical the way the mile is and the depth in the event right now. But it was a good one.
It's just, when I look farther down these results, I was like, no wonder it's hard to get in Diamond Leagues. Like, you're Nard Nordas. It might be his last race under Gert Ingebrigtsen, because he said if Gert gets convicted, he's going to get a new coach. But ran in last the whole race and then moves up a couple spots, breaks 3:50, 3:49.91. Okay, that sounds good. No, you're 11th out of 13 finisher. Ollie Hoare, dead last. Okay, you're dead last in a pro mile. Guess what you ran? 3:50.
That's how the event is in 2025. Also, Robert, how amazing was that 300 hurdles with Warholm? Like, you could tell how much that meant to him. I've taught for years about we need to have Rai Benjamin go to Oslo and face Warholm on his home turf. And for some reason, they decided to do a 300 hurdles. Maybe they thought doing a 400 hurdles would put too much pressure or free them up or whatever. It was fantastic. Benjamin takes off way harder than usual. Like, he was with Warholm, ahead of Warholm on the final turn, and then he's pulling ahead. I'm like, oh, Rye's going to go to to Norway and take down Warholm. This is amazing. And then he hit the final hurdle, and Warholm came back on him, powered away. I mean, 32.67, he smashed his old world record, and by like 0.4 of a second, it just got me excited. What happened the last time these guys raced each other in Tokyo? One of the greatest races in the history of track and field. Where's the World Championships this year? Tokyo. So that one just got me pumped. And then Warholm, with how excited he was to win, and how the fans were into it, and how the meet started with Henriette Jaeger of Norway doing the dive at the end to get beaten by Hepsalum, Bella Whitaker in the 400. I mean, that was really awesome. So just, if you're a Norwegian fan, you definitely got your money's worth. What a meet.
We might take away from this mile, Ollie Hoare. I assume his comments about him. He could be really bummed, but he just ran 3:50. But 3:50 literally means nothing. This comment saying he ran 3:32 and 3:50 and was last place in both of the last 2 Diamond Leagues. Is that correct? I mean, that's so crazy that 3:50 and 3:32 would be last place. 5 years ago, those would have been like, you'd have been like, oh, those are pretty good times. But I mean, when you looked at this one, they're all kicking obviously to go under 350. Pretty much you finished this race except for Ollie. You're under 350, which is nuts. And this isn't an A plus field. We want to call it a B plus field or something. It's just a Diamond League field, missing the superstars or missing all the superstars, right? So anyway, and they're just like it's like a tactical race because the third lap slows to 59. They're like 57, something like that or something. What were the first few? No, 50. Anyway, whatever it was. And I'm just like, this is nuts because I'm like, they said on the broadcast, like, oh, they should go 350 or they can. I'm like, no, the whole field's going to go to sub 350. And that's what they did.
It's, yeah. No, I lost my train of thought. Just very competitive, right?
Yeah, and also the bar is just raised super shoes and what training, whatever reasons you want to see. Just the level and distance running, the bar is a lot higher than it was a couple of years ago.
Well, I know what I was going to say. It's like, most of these races were pretty exceptional today, but it's like hard to promote a track meet because, again, a baseball game, you go home, you win or you lose, or you know what to focus on. Here, if there's a middling race in the middle, should they just not have had that race and save the money? Or, like if your favorite runner wins, but your second favorite loses, like it's a little bit different going to a track meet because we haven't even talked about some of these other distance race. The women's steeple was, I mean, extremely thrilling if you win to sprint finishes, right? Faith Cherachich, the bronze medalist, has edged the gold medalist in the steeple.
Yeah, Winfred Yavi. That was great. I mean, they had a great duel in Doha as well. And Cherachich now looks to be, I mean, they're obviously quite close in ability, but she's won 3 straight now. Between the Diamond League final last year in Brussels, Doha, and in Oslo today. This was a great race. I was stunned that the Tunisian, Marwa Bouzayani, was still in this until the final water jump. She got dropped late, but she was hanging on. It was kind of an oddly, they started out quite slow in this race. And Gabby Jennings of the United States, she tried to hang with them up front because I think the pace was manageable. She's a 9:07 woman. They went out in 3:04 for 1K. So, if she was in PR shape, that should be manageable. She fell off. Not a great race for Val Constein again, 9:32 after her 9:33 in Doha. Courtney Wayman ran decent for the Americans. She was 6th and 9:13.
All right, guys, if you're just joining us, we thank you. We had some issues. Our streaming provider went down. Wasn't our fault this time. Google Cloud went down or something. But if you are listening, and also I apologize, guys. I said I put it on the homepage. I didn't have the homepage live until about 5 minutes ago. But we can see visitors had found us, but mainly not that we don't love the people watching live, but supporters club members. This is for supporters club members. You can get this as a podcast. We're going to have reaction shows after some of this NCAA stuff coming up only for supporters club members. Go to letsrun.com/subscribe. And we said it on the podcast. We said Nico might win the damn thing. Use code GOAT50, GOAT50, save 50% off your first year. You get a super soft shirt. Or if you just want to do it here in the YouTube chat, the super chat, if you just pound $100 right now, we will honor you. John will do a dance on the show. Also, we will give that money. We will give John that money, and we'll make sure behind the scenes you get the Supporters Club podcast. Come on, somebody do it right now. Pound the YouTube super chat.
I don't know if we want to turn this into OnlyFans. Well,
I want to revamp the Supporters Club and charge per week.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about the pricing structure offline. The other thing, the crazy thing is, though, I'm here at NCAA's. I'm heading to the meet in a few minutes. Like, we haven't even told the insanity that was the 1500 prelims yesterday. April Tefra, the mile champ, Lee Murphy, the NCAA record holder, they're both just eliminated in the first round, and 3 Ivy League guys made the final. 3, Robert. Can you believe that?
I knew the Cornell guy did, and the Princeton guy. Who else?
Harvard's Ferenc Kovacs.
Getting Bruce, regular listeners, complaining that I'm shilling the podcast. That's what you got to do. I listen to podcasts all the time. The good ones put so many ads in them. It's crazy. We just try to get you guys to sign up. But okay, should we talk about that NCAA? Anything more from Oslo? I think we should talk about that
Just
NCAA.
The women's steeple to me was the exact same race we saw in Doha. They were 0.18 separated there. They're 0.16 separated today. So
yeah,
But the Faith is 20 years old. The other one, Yavi's 25. But
Yeah.
you know,
My big take from NCAA's is essentially like, oh, look what happened. Like, what did we say when New Mexico started bringing in world under 20 medalists? Like, wow, what the hell are these guys doing in the NCAA? Usually someone this good wouldn't go close. Like, Ishmael Kipkarui, is this guy just going to take over? And took him 5 months, and he's taken over. He set the NCAA 10K record, 26:50 at the 10. Then the meet, he made the rest of the field just look like children. The last 200 meters, he closed in 53.3. Yeah, I don't know. Is he going to win like 10 straight NCAA titles and become like Cheserek? Probably not. I would expect he at some point, if he's that good, he probably will turn pro at some point. But again, he's coming to the NCAA to begin with, so maybe he stays a year or two and just keeps piling them up. I don't know. But then again, Hampton Samuel's really good, and he would get beaten cross by Graham Blanks. Like there are other good Americans, but yeah, my goodness.
If I'm Kip Crew, I take an L and transfer to Oregon. Just get money, stay in the college system, keep rack it up for another 4 years. But that race was over with 200 to go. So, I impressive. In your recap, you seem surprised, like, well, why wasn't Hampton Samuel closer? Well, he answered. He said he didn't feel very good. So I thought he ran a smart race. Just try to stay in the pack, do a little, waste his little energy, and try to get second for the team. So, the team aspect will be interesting. On the 1500, I don't know. Weldon, I'm going to make a video on how not to run a 1500. And it's either going to feature Abel Teffer or Colin Solomon. The surprising one was Liam Murphy. I think he's more, isn't he? He's just kind of more like 1500, 5000. He really has no excuses, though. He was up front the whole race in lane one, running in lane one, maybe a little bit on the outside, but like had a pretty good trip. And he closes in 51.1. It's just not good enough. And
Robert, part of tactics is you can't. Robert, what did we see in the 800? We're seeing, even from Grand Slam track, even a 335 race, these other guys who aren't very good at the 1500, to be honest, are somewhat competitive. If you made it a 340 race, I think they would be competitive. So if you come through with 400, if it's going to be like a 4 flat race or something, whatever they ran, 350, what did they run, 350 or something? If you're 3 flat with 400 to go, like, it's anyone's race. I'm sorry. You better be on the front in the lead. You think just because you're a faster miler than these guys, you're going to beat them over 400? Some guy we've never heard of who goes to Butler or something? What's cool doing, Dayton?
No, this is Jack Kroll of Bradley, who not only won this heat, but was hyping up the crowd and like getting into it at the finish line. That was awesome to see him win this race. A true freshman from Michigan, Brendan Herger, also made the final. Like, it was nuts. But yeah, Weldon, Colin Solomon, right? He closed in 50.8 for the last lap. And he ran basically the entire last lap in lane 2. And yet he's got 7th place in the race because he was lost at the bell. Like, you can't be lost to that point when it's going to take when you've got multiple guys closing in 50 seconds. You're not going to be able to pass them and close in 50 seconds at the same time. Not possible.
Like, you probably could have started him from scratch at that point. You probably could have taken some of the guys, let them warm up, and say, okay, we're going to start you from scratch, but you have to get the back of the pack, and they wouldn't catch him. Like, honestly, like, I think you're just,
good point.
It's over.
Well,
and
his tactics were terrible, absolutely terrible. And he was in the back, and then he made a move at 700 up at the front. I mean, he was almost in the lead. He was like right next to the leader, like 3rd or 4th. If he runs 5 more feet and just cuts in, he could be in the lead. But he didn't want to take the lead. And then somehow a lap later, he's in last place. And disastrous. I always say, if you move up, you better make it stick. You often see guys, I used to tell my guys at Cornell, shut your brain off 800, put yourself in position by 1,000. Just move up. And then when you start moving up, though, I don't care if you're lane 3, go to lane 5. Keep going and get to the front and do not leave. And because when you move up, people are going to get excited anyway. And then if you look at the guys who did qualify, the guy that won the heat, the Michigan freshman, they didn't leave lane 1. The Michigan freshman did not leave lane 1 the whole race. And with 40 meters to go, he stepped in lane 2 for no reason. But he literally did not leave lane 1 for the first 1,450 meters. And he was ahead of Colin Solomon heading into the last turn. Like, people go wide, he's moved up. So he saved so much more ground. And Tefra of Georgetown, watched the tape. I've never seen this. He did not put 1 foot in lane 1 the entire race. Not one step. He was in lane 2 every turn, lane 3 on a couple straightaways. And John's like, "Oh, slow. It's still an extra 30 meters that you're running." He was exhausted by the time to kick. He was actually in a decent spot. He was in 4th the lap to go, but couldn't do it.
Okay, I want to contrast Jack Kroll. Is that my guy's name?
Yeah.
Okay, if you've got one criticism, I'm gonna tie this to Nico Young. If you have one criticism for Nico Young today, what is it? It's obvious. The celebration, man. I would have ripped off my shirt. I would have been Karsten Warholming it. I would have done a backflip and into the high jump. I would have probably broken my neck because I don't know how to do a backflip. If he had the Jack Kroll celebration, I guess people would have made fun of him because it's not the world's. But I'm now rooting for Jack Kroll hugely in NCAAs. And I also wanted to touch on Nico. There's a hater here in the message boards. Since she's saying he's a blood doper. Okay, guys, percent chance you guys think Nico Young is a blood doper?
We're just speculating wild numbers with no basis. I haven't seen any reason to believe that. I don't have any evidence to suggest that at all.
Zero. It doesn't even cross my mind. Call me biased, whatever you want. What?
Rounding the nearest number 0.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I was the one the height started the world record height before this race.
Which I will maintain is still ridiculous. He was 10 seconds off the world record and he ran the race of his life.
Now that he's run it, you don't think he can do it eventually?
No. Could he do it eventually? He's 22 years old. It is on the table. That is a possible outcome.
And we texted our rich sports gambler guy who has his handicap at the Olympics. I said, "Hey, would you put $100 down today on 1,000-to-1 odds that Nico would do it?" He's like, "I still think the odds are worse than 1,000-to-1, but I would put the money on them because it'd be fun. I would do it for fun too." Congratulations, Nico. Should I make the shirt? When I get sued, I almost made a shirt in college. Nico MF Young that has collegiate records for his times. Anyways, this was everything Alberto Salazar dreamed of Galen Rupp. A guy with no kick develops a kick. And if you're Salazar, is this exciting for you because you helped era professionalization, or are you upset because an Adidas guy did what Galen Rupp never did, which is just dominate a European field with all the top guys?
Yeah, I don't know why we got to tie Salazar into all of this. I do wonder how Galen Rupp's feeling though. I keep forgetting he's been coaching in NAU this year. He was talking to Drew Bosley after the 10K last night. I was like, oh yeah, Galen's here with NAU. So,
well, by the way, I asked Coach Gibby Harvard how he watches. He's like, I'm going to watch on full track. I told him then, okay, I'm not going to spoil it for you because the full track stream is quite behind the YouTube stream. And then, no, I can't reveal. I don't know if they want the name revealed. I did get a meta message. I didn't know it was even possible. I don't even have Facebook. I guess I do. It's a message. It's from former American record holder saying, "How do I watch this last night? How do I watch the Oslo Diamond League without having to pay for blow track?" They called it blow track. I tried to explain to them, they're older than me, how to use a VPN.
Okay. All right. Well, this was a lot of fun. Great day. I mean, well, not great day for Grand Slam track, but for American distance running, it was a great day. A lot of stuff to talk about, and we'll have more coverage from NCAA's tonight, and then finals day tomorrow. One of the best days of the year, men's finals day at NCAA on Friday night. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But thanks everyone for tuning in. And if you're watching this live and you're not a member of the Supporters Club, let'srun.com/subscribe. Sorry, let'srun.com/subscribe. We do this every week, breaking down big meets as they happen. And if there's not a big meet, we find something fun to talk about on Fridays anyway.
And you support Jonathan Pelt, the best journalist in the business, and the man who talked to Max Siegel today. More on that in days to come.